Good morning, dear colleagues. Let's begin. Today we have a meeting and results on the rating, which was launched by PwC in partnership with the Association of Innovative Regions of Russia, PwC. This year, our partnership also includes the bank, Russian Bank for Development. And the idea of the rating was to find out the companies, the technology companies, which are developing quickest, that are in the medium technological segment, because the technological business, notwithstanding the fact that it can't work without anchor leaders, it is completely impossible without startups. But in reality, basic economic processes in high tech are defined by a group of middle, quickly growing companies, high tech companies. And the result of the first 2 years of rating shows that we have such companies in our country, and they're growing even quicker than we expected. And in 3 years, the average annual growth rates in sales made up 25%, comparing with overall growth of economy. It is quite a significant figure. And what is more important, these companies are globally competitive. They're almost all of them are present in the international markets. They all have a growth of export revenues, sales, and they are successfully working in the international channels of value added and supplies. So today, here at our round table, they are here with us, and the representatives of the rating companies will get the floor today also. And that I would like to ask the co-organizer, Ivan Bortnik, to tell us a few words. And after that, we'll have time for Natalia Vladimirovna. Thank you very much, Igor. Dear colleagues, I'm very glad that the rating is actively developing. Secondly, I'm glad and a bit disappointed by the fact, I'm glad that one of you recently opened a large-scale plant in Alabuga in a special economic zone. What is more, we talked to Minihanov, and he starts building yet another 2 plants there, an industrial park as well. But I won't say it in front of Krykov, but he takes a loan in Sberbank, and he agreed to build such an industrial park. That's wonderful. But one of you present here also has recently attained that he won a trial in the Supreme Court with federal service. Anti-monopoly service. So your role is quite a good one, and it's wonderful when it is showed. Someone of us supplies 50 tons of raw materials to Finland, and the Finnish built a special plant to use his products. So your role is quite immense. And why I'm disappointed is that every day when the rating stops, it turns out that we've missed other companies, and they are already working, but we did not include them in the rating. So we will try, and I promise that. We will try to work in both parts and improve our work. Thank you, our partners, PricewaterhouseCoopers, MSP-Bank, that today we have stable development and stably keep our staff that works with the rating. Thank you. Please, Alina Lavrentieva, PwC, about the facts of the rating, please. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. We have an experience of working with a rating for 2 years. We were the methodologists of the project. We added something in the last year based on our experience. As for the history, we have over 300 companies that want to participate. 110 companies applied, 80 were qualified, and it's wonderful that 60% are the participants of 4 more years. We have these stable participants. We have a wonderful expert council, 26 experts that participated in the expert council. And if we talk about the overall picture, this year we see that these are companies with an average age of 23 years. The companies turned money into knowledge, and the share of sales for innovation 23%. The company also turned knowledge into money with the volume. The share of new products were 57%. As for the geography, as always, we have active Moscow and St. Petersburg participants, also from Privolzhia region. The industrial picture is quite a diverse one. We have motor vehicles manufacturer, information technologies, pharmaceutical industry, construction materials, and some other regions. Some other spheres. So the companies, notwithstanding the hard situation in the market, they showed growth. PwC, having an experience of 25 years, is ready to support this growth and development. Thank you. Thank you very much, Alina. Now we are asking Mr. Dvorkovich to say a few words, and after that we'll give the floor to the laureates of the rating. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I'm glad to take part in the roundtable, TechUp 2014, within the framework of Open Innovations Forum. It's wonderful that the rating continues to develop. The methodology is advanced, and more companies are eager to take part in the rating and to become well known, and it's a wonderful sign as well. And it is obvious that the major part of the companies complies with the key aims of technological development that are constantly discussed, and they were also discussed at the plenary meeting today within the framework of Open Innovations Forum. These are IT companies, biomedical companies, companies that work with pure energy, with the new materials, and many things of those that would be heard here today at the macro level were discussed at the plenary meeting. The technology of water purification, up to the use of new information technologies. And it seems to me that the leaders are defined by a number of important characteristics, including the readiness to be transparent in every way. I mean, open for the Russian market and an international market, open for cooperation with companies of any profile and level, open for cooperation with universities, and the majority of those present here are actively cooperating with Russian universities. And also, it is important that the companies are constantly eager to find new niches for their activity, for development and production, and they manage to set up full-fledged chains from research to the introduction of products to the market. And that's the aim of the rating, to show that we have such companies and they are actively developing. It seems to me that due to the improvement in estimating such businesses, we have better work of our development institutes, because the understanding how success comes success in technology sector. It forces our development institutes to improve their support systems, and using these chains of success, they build up their further work. So for the state, it is also very useful as for the business itself. And I would also like to add that I would like you to exchange your experience. Tell after that what are your agreements, what changes do you need to introduce to our work in order to spend money for certain aims, and this would allow us to use the resources we have and they are to use them in an efficient way. So I wish you all the success, and I hope that in future we will have even more companies, we will extend the areas, and it was very nice for me to learn that if we look at the sectors, the majority of the companies are in motor vehicles manufacturing, electrotechnics, the sphere that was not among the first ones, and it means that we're moving in the right direction. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Dvorkovich, and it seems to me that the fact that today we're sitting here with you and we've shifted from the final session to the TechUp, it means we are already in action, that startups are growing, and the research sphere for the future winners of TechUp, we have this basis. I hope you will get to our sector as well. I will surely go there. And I've noted that I think that education is the most important sphere. That's a basic for everything we do in future. And I would like to ask my colleagues, according to the results of today's discussions, if you need any actions on behalf of the government in various sectors or in some systematic fields, please tell me. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, dear colleagues, today we will offer the floor to Oleg, and after that we'll go give the floor to the laureates of the rating. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I traditionally participate in this summing up of the results, and for me it is a very interesting goal, because coordinating in the ministry and in the government the decisions of legal basis, of introducing additional stimuli. I have this chance to communicate with the companies that are actively working in this business sphere. And I think you have a lot of issues to discuss here. I'm always very glad to understand that notwithstanding all the efforts of the government, our business still works and develops and introduces innovations. Every time I get new information here about the things we do in a wrong way, what should we mend, and I hope that this time we will have free exchange of opinions, what to do next in what spheres. And it's wonderful that our solemn part, the companies should not only be content with the work they do and the money they get, but also a social recognition. And I think that our rating, TechUp, and its traditional character to meet every year, it enhances its status, and it is one of the steps of such public recognition of the companies that are working with us and developing the innovations in our country. And thank you very much for that. I am ready to listen to all the problems that arise, and will try to solve them together with you. Thank you. Thank you, Oleg. Maybe now we'll talk about the problems and goals, and listen to the laureates of the rating, TechUp. And I would like Artur to begin, the director of the Stem Cell Institute. the development of biotechnology in medical sphere. We know that there are a lot of problems in this sphere, so please. Thank you very much, Igor. Basically, I think that I would talk not only about problems, but more about the importance of the things happening here. I would like to say that that's the second time we are participating in such an event as TechUp, and I would like to thank those who PwC, MSP, and our other colleagues for the things they do, because for us it's our work. Something that is called TechUp is a routine work we're doing every day, and for sure to estimate it and to look at the field, to look at how other companies and teams work, it's very important, I think. And here I would like to add that we've already discussed with our colleagues that this rating shows once again one idea. We know it because we are working in the development of new pharmaceutical substances, and we know that periodically you have something once again. If the patient wants to survive, healthcare can do nothing with it, and that's the same here. The rating TechUp should confirm that. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you very much. Our patient is very livable, and that's regardless of anything, we will win. So Yuri Parev, IT Director, General Director. For people that come from business, it is very important that above the professional success, they would have a public success, social success, and I represent IT industry, the development of software, and I would like to say a few words about what happens in our industry, what problems do we have, and what seems important to me. Considering the attitude of the state to IT industry. Our industry is now in an interesting period of development. For the first time, the state paid attention to the industry. Over 20 years, we've developed as a non-regulated industry, and that led to fantastic results. The industry from export of $5 billion with a number of new technologies. And today it became clear that many new technologies important for the state were not developing in Russia. The state did not buy them. And today it became clear that we should create them, and we have a goal to have not to use import and to have our own products. And to introduce new technologies that were not created in Russia before, and we have faced risks to have state involvement in IT industry. It seems to me that this risk is not discussed today. It is very important for innovativeness and competitiveness of this industry. This risk and the way it shows in discussions to show special state fund that would allocate money to the creation of key technologies where the state would participate as a stakeholder. That's an example of how the future of industry is set up, considering the improvement of share of state involvement. I think that it is a risk. I don't think that is bad, but this risk should be discussed. It should be public, and it should be well thought of. No one is talking about that by now, but every advances in this industry were connected with high competition. 25 years ago, when we started working, we were in the WTO. We were competitive from the very first day with the best world technologies, and today the financing of new technologies by the state will lead to a deadlock. We should create new technologies. We need an order, but don't finance us on behalf of the state. The second problem I see is that for all these years we're in the global market, and one of the advantages of our industry is large amounts of sales abroad. Last year, nearly 5 billion of services and technologies of Russia were sold in Russia, or were sold abroad. And according to the geopolitical situation, we had a serious risk of decrease of export, and that's a problem. And we should work on that. And we should look for new ways. And here we need state support. Because in the whole world, the export of technologies is a sector of economy that is supported by the state. And here we need a proactive position of the state, and here we would like to discuss it. These are the problems we would like to discuss with our Deputy Prime Minister, and we have some ideas here, and I think that together we can make our industry even a stronger one. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tagir. And I would like to join in. The risk for IT sector has grown, in particular due to the initiatives of the regulator, but I cannot agree with the fact that it is not discussed. Many leaders in this sector has already spoken out on this topic. It was discussed at the economic forums, for example, yesterday at the panel meetings. The associations wrote special letters and prepared them, and I have an impression that the regulator, the Ministry of Communications, is ready to listen to the industry. The thing is that many things are declared before the communications, and we are discussing the things that are declared, and that's not correct. We initiated an intensive discussion. We are very active, and all these panels, all these discussions, they exist, but they do not ask for our advice. They don't work on the solutions with us, and post factum it's very difficult to work with them. T8, Vladimir Tereshik. Good afternoon. I'm from company T8. We make communication systems, and I would like to say a few words about what we are talking about and why it is important. Frankly speaking, in the information society, the aim to create communication systems is very important worldwide. China has such a program, and they invest in Huawei over $9 billion in order to get this independence. And for us, this rating is very important because there should be an understanding that Russia has domestic equipment of communications. We made wonderful developments that are used in the whole world. And we have 2 world records on the distances. And we know that that someone said that we don't have our domestic communications equipment, but still we do have it, and sometimes the state wants to give our share of business to the global systems, and it is very important that these ratings allows us to show the real results. And once again, I'd like to say that state equipment of communication, we have it. It has a world quality, and it works on long distances. And we have a wonderful potential that is enough for all our customers, and that allows to break the system. Yes, it's very advantageous to take foreign equipment, but when the results are so obvious, and when you see, and when our equipment is recognized, we hope that it will have its own way and will be introduced to work. We are quite optimistic about the future, and we have more orders. Then once again, thank you very much. You help us a lot. Thank you. Here we're talking that doctors should be assured not to send the patient to the special care service. Thank you. Alexei Panteleev, Mediana Filter. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. President Vakovich said about the aim when we're talking about success, we should make a chain from research to the sales of the product. And on this way, we have quite a lot of barriers. And in order to overcome them, there are difficulties. In innovative activity, the state makes quite a lot of steps that help to overcome these barriers. And the funds work perfectly. We have special programs and so on. That's all connected with the financing. But when we have an innovative activity, we have two aims. We should have a product, and second, we should sell it. When we have problems in sales in Russia, here the majority of companies are quite successful, but I would like to define with my colleagues one of the aims and problems we have when we large-scale and medium companies implement our projects, or vice versa for companies that were established as medium-sized companies, for example, Rosnano, Program, or Skolkovo. They have one aim. To sell the products. And as I told you, when we sell in the country, here it's obvious what to do. And if your product is it should be produced quite a lot of in items, but you need worldwide distribution across the whole world. And these companies methodologically don't have a possibility or means to organize such sales abroad. And you know it. And large-scale companies, everyone that starts, they have their own programs which they face at different stages. And we have an aim to help to organize some kind of structures that would help these companies to sell their products abroad. Because without that, why aren't many projects successful, the projects of Rosnano? Because they don't have the sales, they can't market their product. Their products require worldwide distribution, and they and other companies require this support and the structure. In principle, we know how to do it in the world. We have this world experience to discuss. But I would like pay your attention to the problem, and we should solve it. Thank you. Alexei, have you tried to communicate with state well, I'm acquainted with Ivan Bortnik. We've met 20 years ago, and he told me that one of the aims for me was to promote the products to Austria, and using the trade chamber. Did you work in Austria? So please ask Mr. Stutsenko. What to do with it. Call him and discuss it. Well, that's not such a problem. We are already successful, but there are small projects. But for example, Rosnano and other structures, that's a great aim, and that's a complicated one. We can solve our problems. Alexei, I would like to support you in the fact that we have an internal problem when we discuss in state structures that are responsible for the development of economy, that we go from proposal but not from the demand, and we support a supply sector but not the real demand and promotion in the markets. We see it and we understand it. And frankly speaking, we planned today to discuss the promotion of companies in the international level. So please, let's move forward. Thank you for the problem you told us about. I think the ministry listened to it also. And Mikhail Levchuk, I would like to add up some things. The ministry is responsible for the coordination of such internal economic activity, including the promotion in the foreign markets of the products and goods that Russian companies produce, and the whole infrastructure is created. We have a portal of internal support and internal economic activity. We have all possible ways of support, institutes of support. We have guarantees of foreign credit loans, insurance for foreign supplies, support and patenting abroad. But maybe the problem is the one we have, but the business says that they don't know anything about it. Regardless, that with business association we have entered into agreements. We work with them. Our business mission. We have also a business mission, and we are working with business associations and regions that push their companies forward. And this issue is the one we are discussing. But what's the problem? Did you apply to the ministry? Did you apply to the portal with a trade representative? We don't know that you want to export. We don't know where you want to export. You would like to define your potential markets first, and after that come to us and say, we have everything created. Without that, there are problems, but still we want to know what's the problem of the infrastructure. We have it, but just speaking that there should be support, we do support, but please define, give us the technical aims. Thank you very much. I am ready to define where we have the most complicated issue. Dear colleagues, it's wonderful that we have a discussion now, but please, now as a moderator, I would let myself to stop it and say that basically I agree with Oleg to some extent that we have such a, in our medical paradigm, that in order to get some treatment, the patient should do something himself. And here we have a problem in business also. But this approach from getting from the demand. And that's based on the deficit economy that we had when we thought that we'll do something and everything will be bought out. It remains in the brains of entrepreneurs. The understanding that if you won't sell, no one will purchase. Not everyone understands it, regardless that we are moving to it for a long time. We have instruments, they are established. They do not guarantee, but they give the possibility to use them. If you don't try them, no success will happen. If you try, maybe you will be successful. That depends on many factors. But I think that this topic on the support of experts, we will return to it. And now let's move forward and... Sorry? So we give the floor to Mikhail Levchuk from Argus Spectre. I would like to highlight the following moment. You can either help or you can stop in preventing. We got enough help because our company grew in a complicated situation. We got help not by the words and by the money also. And I would like to share specific experience. Many of you may be unfamiliar with it. That's the experience of the last year of my personal life. The experience of getting acquainted with anti-monopoly legislation of Russia. That's quite an unexpected thing, but those who invented and those who thought everything being young, they face the problem that when anti-monopoly service start working with you and saying that you are a monopolist. But here is a systematic mistake. Really, the major engine of invention, and it is obvious that at what time you are becoming this monopolist. And in many countries, maybe in all, it is adopted, but as in Russia, and it's my personal experience that show it, recently the trend goes in another way. In Friday we had an anti-monopoly conference where Igor Artemyev was present, who spoke about the fourth anti-monopoly package. Oleg knows about this package. And we had difficulties to lift the lifting the immunity of inventors. And what do we hear? Mr. Artemyev said that we will get back to the discussion of this issue during the second reading in the State Duma. Notwithstanding that there was a whole year of life spent in all the committees in our ministries, that you cannot lift the immunity of the inventors in anti-monopoly legislation. Mr. Artemiev goes out and says that we think we need a rediscussion in the second session in the State Duma. Well, believe me, you can't do everything in such a way. That's a very complicated subject, invention, and you cannot stop people from inventing. Our company sells not only in Russia but abroad also, and the only reason of our success abroad is that we have 100 patents. That's our only reason of success of any high technology company, and you should work very carefully in this issue. And in order to sum up, according to the results of this discussion, maybe we will have some kind of protocol. Is it possible to ask to submit our point of view, to pay attention to where we should move? Because the economic policy, the industrial policy, and the competitive policy should go together. You can't work on competition, on developing of it. They should be they all should come in sum. Such discussions should move us forward in the understanding. Thank you very much, Mikhail. Now I don't see the reason why not to submit this issue for the discussion, for example, for Mr. Dvorkovich, who directly offered that, because I agree with you in the words you said. Here we have a fundamental terminology misunderstanding. We have natural monopolies that are not quite natural. A natural monopoly is the monopoly of an inventor that offered his own unique product, and this uniqueness protected according to the legislation by the intellectual property rights. It should be supported a way of monopoly. Because it is supported in many developed countries. Unfortunately, our colleagues from Anti-Monopoly Committee oriented on the technological system of that is 100 years old, take it as antitrust legislation in the United States a century ago, but not as the laws that are active for the recent 30-40 years. That's my personal point of view, and I'm ready to talk about it to regulators.
A couple of words, please. My colleagues are well aware of our position regarding this issue, because in the run of the last year and a half we have written lots of negative conclusions on the estimation of regulative influence, and to a large extent due to our work, I think it's was our success. We managed to make an adoption to the legislation in the second reading, and now the fourth anti-monopoly package has passed all the necessary procedures, and the anti-monopoly committee tried to make some amendments to some law which was being scrutinized by the State Duma for a long time. And if we talk about the distribution of norms on competitiveness, on patent rights, I think there are very hot discussions on this topic, and they will continue. Though during the discussion with Mr. Shavalov, this package has been introduced to the government, and Mr. Shavalov supported our Ministry of Justice and Industry, which objected. But we hope that the government position will be carried out during the second reading of the fourth anti-monopoly package. Thank you. Let's move forward, and we'll take this point of view into consideration, this position of business circles. Dmitry Mramorov, SKB Kontur. Good afternoon, colleagues. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Mr. Bortnikov for including us in the rating. We are taking part for the second time, and we are very grateful for an opportunity to be included. And we are now an IT company, and an increased interest, as Mr. Iparov has already said, concerns us a bit, because a tendency on of this sector becoming a bit of a state sector worries us, because we have different discussions with Ministry of Communications, and they are quite fruitful. but there are different hindrances and problems on different levels, and I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that our company is successful to a large extent due to the fact that we implemented the demand which was generated by the state by creating some legal field. And if we look at the tendencies of the development of IT in Russia on the whole, we see that the legal field is 120-30 billion rubles, and we think that it's quite a large extent, and so that's the market, which is not a large-scale market for the domestic producers. And on behalf of the government, there is a huge reserve, and it's quite free of charge to form some literate legal field which will enable IT companies develop. And I can give you two examples. For example, the electronic document turnover, it's in the zone of immense growth, and our developers are not worse than foreign ones. And to understand you, the volume of electronic accounts is about 40 billion. And in order to develop this market in Russia, we need to solve legislation problems, not technical ones, not financial ones. They are first and foremost legislation problems. And I understand that it's not only the problem of the Ministry of Economic Development or Ministry of Communications. It's a comprehensive work which demands a lot of efforts. And for example, there are problems that we don't know how to keep electronic documents, and there are some problems with electronic signatures. And I'd like to address all the participants that it's a huge reserve, and it's a free of charge reserve. And so we need to support the sector and also to solve internal problems as well. Thank you very much. I'd like to comment on these words. We are dealing with this problem as well. And we ask you to give us definite comments because there are some problems which hinder us from making all the documents electronic in the mode of B2B, but we are trying to be consecutive, and we are trying to eliminate all the barriers in the legislative base, and we try to, because there are some sectors which need the use of only paper documents for some purposes, and it's done for state services, and these are objective reasons. And first, our priority is state needs, but after that we transfer to the needs of business. And now we're negotiating with the Ministry of Telecommunications for making all the documentations for food products in electronic mode. And it's the document which includes elimination of legislative barriers and implies the plan for logistics of the process. So please, we are open to your recommendations. We need to understand which amendments are needed, and this is a continuous work. And so if we need to bring amendments to 120, 130 acting bills, there is no problem. We are dealing with this on everyday basis. And so we started from the electronic government, and now we're trying to assist the elimination of transaction expenditures in business. And so I think it's about the 153rd amendment. I think it's one of the roadmaps of regulator sector which we are talking about, and we need to implement a pilot project to work out this plan on food products and to transfer all the documentation in the electronic mode, because no one needs this paperwork. It's the hugest logistics, and it works on as a hierarchy. And so if we talk about a small part of products, you need to have a lot of paperwork, and so we think that our pulp and paper industry is just exhausted. Thank you. I think I support this idea. State has a lot of resources. For example, the topic of state procurements, of domestic software. It's a very important topic, and we need to is not regulated, and it could have been quite effective. And at least in Russia, we have world competitive analogs, and state organizations procure products from their direct rivals, and it's ridiculous for us. And I talked about it yesterday during the panel session with the participation of Mr. Nikiforov, and I think that he heard me, because this issue must be regulated. It's a very subtle moment of criteria for corresponding analogs. I have some ideas, but it's not high time for announcing them. But I think that we need to establish conditions for the support of national champions by the state and making them global champions using the tools of state procurements, which I think everyone understands the importance of this issue at the moment. So thank you very much. We'll move forward. And Mr. Valyhov, Turbonasos. So, we can't hear you, sorry. So I'm representing mechanical engineering, and within the framework of Roscosmos, Rosspace, it's clear that market dictates all the conditions and rules, whatever we want. If there is a demand and if there is a need for innovation, so you need development and money. And in my point of view, there is lack of compliance on the higher levels, because perhaps we lack some system approach, because industrial policy and rivalry and work in the market must be combined and connected. For example, these ideas of double technologies and input substitutions. Even 25 years ago, we had some goals stipulated, and within the run of this period of 25 years, the president and the presidents and the prime ministers were talking that defense industry must stand on 2 feet, because it must be effective in domestic markets, but it must be open for foreign markets. And if we talk about special equipment, it's 25-30%, and everything else is free market. So I don't see any improvements in this regard. Perhaps there are some in IT or in some other innovative spheres, but mechanical engineer hasn't experienced any developments. And I think that the industry is developing by its own, and Ross Property is developing separately. For example, in the run of the 4 years, the board of directors has changed several times, because we introduced different kinds of positions, for example, executive directors, independent directors, but it didn't lead to making any conclusions and solutions. And since 2020, the defense industry must implement all the goals set by the president, but we don't have any support from the state. So how will it be implemented? Because there is no document which will state that monopolists must establish different structures, open structures, joint companies which must implement double-purpose technologies, for example, Roscosmos, Rosatom, in civil spheres, and there is no such mechanism. So they are all developing, but if a director becomes ill and he resigns, somebody buys up the company, and so it changes its direction of work. And so it seems to me there is a need for system policy, both industrial and competitive and property, which will help this locomotives. Don't think that I'm asking for money, but if there are some 50 firms and companies they're developing, it's a kind of rating, and everybody has discussed it. Find a tool and mechanism, let them show what they want to develop and give them money. It's just an example. There is no unified system policy, and we need to do it, because I don't know how can I reach Mr. Bortnikov, because some people say there are sites you can write letters and emails, but the answer is simple. For example, Gazprom tells us, look at our site, you'll see everything, and you will invest about 10 million, and after that come up to us with your questions. So, of course, I'm being too direct, but I think it's a moment of lack of system. If all these sectors are disintegrated, we can't reach any success. Because in China the situation is the following: there are private companies, public companies. If you work, you are allocated certain resources by the state, and this capital stays in China, but it's a certain base because you are given money. And we don't even need money. We need to have some support, and we don't have it because we are told that don't deal with technical double-use equipment. And we have written lots of letters to the ministry, but the situation hasn't changed in the run of the last 20 years. So it's clear. Thank you very much. So I think I can agree with Oleg, because we are going to issue a document based on the results of the meeting, and it's clear from please make some conclusions from your statement for us to include it in the final document. Please. So I think we are not to evolve this discussion at the moment, but of course I agree with everything which has been said before. And unfortunately, in my point of view, perhaps I can offend someone from my governmental colleagues, but in fact there is no industrial policy in the full sense of the word, because if we're talking about legislation which is being promoted at the moment, it's not about industrial policy, it's about production and different practices and regulations, but not more. And who really is responsible for industrial policy in different sectors is unclear. And so I suggest that it should be appropriate to make some conclusions of your statement and include them in the document. And so we are ready to send you the information on the first reading of the law, of the bill, and perhaps we need to reflect something there. So please don't wave your hand. I think we should move forward, because Vladimir Kudelkin, reasonable decisions. So you have mixed up in information. I am from Consortium Kudres, so I'd like to raise two issues. There is a statement of Mr. Putin of 2020 of the refusal from Windows. So I'm sorry, please speak up to the mic. So there is a statement of Mr. Putin of the transfer to the open codes, and we need to shift to these codes by 2015, but this statement hasn't been fulfilled, and it's becoming very crucial in connection with the sanctions carried out by the US. And I'd like to draw your attention to the fact we need to carry out these tasks, and we spent trillions to establish security systems, different kinds of them. There are certain developments in the direction. We have some platforms in the Institute of Kurchatov. We have intersectoral commissions led by Mr. Rogozin, but it's not enough. We need to have some technical committee. I'm trying to prove it for 3 years. We need some technical committee which will define unified policy in all the issues controlled by the government, and the main points exist, and I offered them. There are 6 points, and the question is the following. There is a state-bound border and other structures, and everyone is doing what he wants, and as a result trillions of rubles are spent in vain, but there is no unified platform, no unified standards, and so some use Windows, some use some other platforms, and so I think it's there is a need to establish an intersectoral committee which will control the issues of security. And I think that one of such platforms is Integra Planet 4D, which solves all these issues. And we also have elaborated a standard, and it's 125th standard. And there are 2,000 objects which are to be implemented, including integration of Olympic objects and so on and so forth. And if each sector has a reasonable director, then a committee conducts a reasonable policy. But if there is no reasonable director, so the work isn't done. So we need to have a unified technical committee above all the all other committees, which will unify our policy and help us save state money. So the topic is a complicated one and demands a lot of discussion, because if we talk about legislation adopted in the sphere of anti-terrorist security, transport security, complex. So we have different points of view on this in this regard, because if we talk about companies which supply equipment for certain sectors, it's bad for economy on the whole, because expenditures connected with the with taking responsibilities and providing all the stuff with all the security means, it accounts for trillions of expenses. And I think, of course, the situation with the economy is complicated anyway, and I think that another point is, if we manage to simplify the situation, and if we try to reach some reasonable results and ways to implement our work, there is a need to centralize the work to equip the security means with security means a lot of objects which are private ones. And undoubtedly major developers want to have some platform, and they desire to have their own platform which will enable them to conduct unified security systems, and the issues of rivalry and different offers it also exist, because the issue of standardization is a right one, because these standards must be in compliance with each other for different developers have an opportunity to integrate this system, security system. But the issue is that on the whole in the security system we need to have some committee, unified constructor of the system. We have millions of objects which need to be equipped with the systems. So what is the need to centralize? I don't understand it at the moment. But I think it's not our competence. It's the competence of some Ministry of Defense agencies, and I have perhaps a lot of questions in this regard. I'd like to say a couple of words. We need to understand the principal approach, because we must establish unified system of state, because until we adopt this decision, we will spend money in vain, spend budget in vain. And so, thank you very much.
I would like to add yet another 2 words, if you allow me. I would like to say that for suppliers, the security solutions, in security solutions, it is quite natural to move the solutions of the decisions of these problems. The centralization as a major priority, and at the same time, we all know that even a car without wheels is not completely secure, because a rock can fall on it. And any system that maximizes the level of security has some transactional costs for carrying, for working of this, for the provision of work of this system. And getting once again back to this medical paradigm we are talking about today, it would be only a dead person will be completely secure, because you can't do anything with him. But if we put all people to such conditions, our economy will not develop, and the country won't survive. Therefore, the question is not in such development and promotion, but in finding effective compromise between security and the possibilities that that are necessary for the survival of the business sphere, state, and people. That is decided through the establishment of standards, and I would like to remind that the technological regulations we are living according to during the recent 15 years, they were formulated as the basic requirements in establishing the security standards in different fields of the economic subjects. Our colleagues know the difference between the tech requirements, because they set up the requirements of security, but they have the list of standards that provide for the compliance. But the process of standardization has several stages, and if we talk about working out unified standards for security systems in exchange protocols of information, this would be very useful for us. It should be done, but that shouldn't be connected with centralization of the process of the systems. We shouldn't have any proprietary platform where anyone should work with. It shouldn't be at the level of the state, because these are even more risks than the centralized system, and the risk will be even more higher. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. I would like to move to another part of our today's meeting, and I promise that Oleg and I will control the words, that the words said today won't just fade away. We will control that they will get to the people that take decisions. And we have an award ceremony now, and I would like to say a few words about the results of analytical research that was done this year. According to the results of the rating during the 3 years, we've had a statistics base based on which we can talk about the trends and have basic characteristics of quickly developing technical companies. And here it is, we have important figures and data. We can talk in details about them or just in general. Because this research will be accessible. But it's important that the major part of the company is, and it is statistically supported, that all the companies taking part in the TechUp are the leaders of the market, that nearly all of them have expert revenues. That half of them nearly are oriented at innovations connected with improving innovations. Nearly 40%, 44% as far as I remember, are aimed at breakthrough technologies, innovations that a market lacks. And this statistics is collected, it is accessible. It will be universally accessible for the market players and for state bodies. Does anyone want to tell in details about this research? Ivan, maybe you want to tell something? No? Then this data is accessible to our partners, and they will be accessible to the market in planning those incentives that we will develop to support and promote. And I would like to ask the partners of the project to tell a bit about the proposals that will be in access for the companies of TechUp rating, for the partners of the rating. And I would like Sergey Krykov from SP-Bank. What can SP-Bank offer our participants of the rating? Thank you very much. I'm very glad to welcome all of us. We are glad to participate in this project. Mr. Dwarkovich said that we have development institutions established, and every one of them provides support in such a way, and we are one of those established institutes of development. And as a part of Vneshekonombank, we are working with small and medium-scale enterprises. But not all of them are innovation-oriented. So our participation in such project where innovative companies meet, it is justified, and it's wonderful that among the nominees there are the companies that received our loan support. We have 15,000 of them in our bank, and I'm very pleased that there is a segment of quickly growing innovative companies that receive such support. For sure, we are monitoring this complicated market. That's a narrow segment, and we try with our loan products, and we have for this field we have several of them using our partner banks and infrastructural organizations through leasing, which. These are basically long-term, that's basically long-term funding that we provide for our partners in order to meet their demands. Business representatives said today that they have different requirements and different problems, but we are orienting on those for who need the loans at different stages of development of the company and their business. And estimating in comparison with the market, the terms of loans, we have very long term of them. We have 5 years, 5-year terms. These are bank partners and infrastructural organizations, leasing companies. In the new field, the guarantee support up to 10 years. And as for loans, we have a top of 150 million for one project. So you see the spectrum is quite a wide one, and once again we're working on long-term resources, and that's what we are ready to offer to such companies. That does not limit any other forms of state support, and we heard about them today. But we are covering this very segment of loan guarantee support, and this decreases the risk of crediting of long-term projects by bank partners, and that's an obstacle. Beneficial funding that we provide, even at the credit risk level that the bank partner takes, it provides the financing, because all the interest rate does not go up, and now this rate is nearly 11-12%. That's not cheap, but That's a long-term resource. And in combination with credit support, with loan support, and with any other forms, maybe subsidies or maybe regional programs of support of business that work in various regions, especially in the innovative regions, and associations of innovative regions support it. That allows to decrease this interest rate once again, providing in such a way for the effective implementation of this project. That's where our support measures aim. And we're glad to note the growth of this segment. And according to our program, we have 75% of such projects. Nearly 2/3 of all the support go to the enterprises that would like to introduce innovations to modernize production. And in the recent years, we plan to increase this share. And significant growth was in the recent years, starting with 2010. This sector was shifted to a separate sector. We call it FIM, the Financing of Innovations and Modernization. And we do correct this program from one year to another, taking into account all the requirements of all the needs of the businesses that they voice, and we ask everyone to work together with us. We work in a transparent way. MSP-Bank.ru, that's our website. Our portal has all the necessary information. We have a recent project, the stock exchange of the project, where entrepreneur can put the basic parameters of the project, and through the audience of the website, which is quite immense, we're taking the statistics. That's 370,000 visits a month, views a month. And you can use all these instruments to show your project, and we're ready to support this search for new partners in structuring the project and moving it forward for successful implementation, because our resource is a return one, and we as a bank are interested as you initiator in its successful implementation in order to return the resource and work it effectively. So I offer you cooperation. Thank you. Thank you, Sergey. Anton, maybe you tell us a bit about the work of PwC. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. PwC company effectively works with a segment of quickly growing tech companies. It's one of our priorities of the development of our business in Russia, in particular within the framework of PwC work. We have two subdivisions that aimed at these subjects, the Center of Technologies and Innovations and the group of providing services to private companies, specializing in medium-scale business. And speaking about special offers interested to companies, I would like to note that we have a special international program for support of companies getting to foreign markets that provide a special regime of service rendering and involvement of foreign offices to provide help to the companies in looking for partners and establishing work relations at new markets. In the creation of their subdivisions abroad. And within the framework of the club established of Tech Success, we are a partner, and we are ready to actively share our experience with publications, carry out workshops in development of quickly developing tech companies. Thank you. Thank you very much. In conclusion, because we are losing time now, so after that we'll have a ceremony of awarding ceremony, but before that we have a few words about RVK. Because in their joint work with the Ministry of Economic Development, they planned a program to support and promote to the foreign markets of the products and services of Russian technological companies. And as far as I understand, like Plugsin, obviously Director for International Projects, can tell us a few words about the state of this project.
Yes, very briefly, because the government of the Russian Federation has put for us a priority to support expert. We have planned and we are actively implementing a project with technological platforms and sectoral business associations to support export and those companies who have TechUp success rating, and I know that there are such companies can get support on the system level. Besides, I'd like to talk about our regular activity, about our marketing support and non-financial support of high-tech companies which reach international markets. Undoubtedly, the efforts of the TechUp rating company brings about a lot of respect because I think that only a company itself can build up its own sales. But nevertheless, development institutions have a very important competence. I'd like to say a couple of words about our RVC. It's a very respected and famous institute, development institute, and it's capable of entering a market and building up good, friendly cooperation with the best representatives of these innovative communities, including state regulators and associations of venture capitalists and legal firms, patent companies, and we have very reliable partners in these key markets. Especially, it's very important in China, Korea, and Malaysia, for example. And I think that the companies took part in the latest initiative to enter Malaysian market. And plus, key markets such as Singapore, Israel, and the US, we have our representatives who are highly qualified people in marketing and technical issues, and they are ready to provide necessary help. And naturally, we will assist and provide any help needed to reach practical goals, because we are measured by measuring expert. So now, I think if there are any questions, please address our speakers. And now I think we should shift to the awarding ceremony.
Раз, два, нет, работает. Компаниям вручается диплом.
So we award the companies and we open our ceremony. So top 30 and Mr. Fomichov. So Novamed Perm, laureate of Russian high-tech companies rating. Interschool company. I would like to praise the company because I use the instrument they have given me last year. IT company. Production company SKB Kontur. The account company. So I personally witnessed Diacon's cameras on nuclear reactor, myself and the US. Omninsk R&D company technology. Polisan. Gerofarm.
Данафлекс Нано. Да, хорошо знакомы. Поздравляю. Прима. НПП Прима. Поздравляю.
Я же должен объявить научно-технический центр «Эллинс». Инфотекс. Со многих точек зрения любимый.
From many points of view, it's our favorite R&D company, Micron.
Томск. Еще грант у них есть имени Гюнтера с фондом содействия. Хорошо, научно-производственное объединение «Стеклопластик». Еще одно старое доброе советское набирает обороты, да? Поздравляем вас. Приятно, что старые добрые советские тоже потихонечку набирают.
It's very pleasant that good old Soviet companies are also leading the way.
Компания «Технология лекарств». Где компания? Передадим. Компания «Аргус Спектр». Научно-производственная компания «Медиана Фильтр». Научно-производственное объединение «Унихимтек».
Так, продолжаем. Научно-производственная фирма «Пакер». Турбонасос. Плакарт. МВП Свемел. Консорциум Интегра С.
Все. На этом спасибо большое.
So thank you very much, everybody. We are closing our award ceremony. So are there any final statements? So we are waiting for all of you next year, and I hope that all of you will keep to your present rates of growth, and we wish you success in all your endeavors, and we will be happy to provide support for your work. And I enjoyed the moment that the forum is called Open Innovations, because the term implies some different content, but the fact which happened here is real open innovations, because we have competent people from the government which are well aware of the fact what they're dealing with, and perhaps you're not quite satisfied always with what they're doing, but I think that is the point of open discussion and one of the elements of useful for TechUp. Thank you very much for your participation.
Спасибо большое. И тогда, завершая, всем больших успехов и до следующего года и следующего рейтинга.
So thank you very much. Till next time, until next year. And so I please all the laureates together for the joint photo.